What if I told you your dollars aren't backed by gold or silver? They're backed by something else entirely. And once you understand what that is, you'll never look at money the same way. Most people have no idea how money actually works. And because they don't understand the system, they don't see why Bitcoin is so important. So let me take you on a journey from shells and beads to digital gold. This is the history of money and why everything changed in 1971. Before we dive into history, let's talk about value. What do we value as a society? Time, energy, time with our families, time not spent at our jobs where our wages haven't kept up with inflation, time not arguing about politics and a government that doesn't care about us. Money is supposed to represent value. But what makes money valuable in the first place? It's not because governments say so. It should be because of the time, energy, and effort required to create it. Let's start with wampum, used by indigenous peoples for centuries before European contact. Why was it valuable? The labor required to make it. You had to harvest specific shells from the ocean or rivers or lakes, grind them down, drill tiny holes into them by hand, polish them, string them together. It could take days to make a single strand. You couldn't fake the effort. You couldn't print more wampum. That's what made it trusted money, the proof of work. Then there's gold. Same principle, bigger scale. Why is gold valuable? Two reasons. First, it has utility. It doesn't corrode. It conducts electricity. It's used in jewelry, electronics, in medicine. Gold has real practical uses. But more importantly, mining gold requires enormous energy and effort. Ancient miners, manual labor, dangerous conditions, years of work to extract small amounts. Modern mining is massive machinery, tons of electricity, entire crews. Gold is scarce because it's hard to get. You can't print more gold. You have to work for it. You have to spend time and energy. See the pattern? Good money requires proof of work. You can't cheat it. You can't fake it. You have to put in the energy. That's what makes it valuable. For most of American history, our money was backed by gold. What does that mean? It means your paper money was a receipt for real gold. A $20 bill wasn't just paper. It represented actual gold you could redeem at a bank. The government wasn't supposed to be able to print unlimited money because they could only print as much as they had gold to back it. Want to print more dollars? You need more gold. This forced governments to be responsible. It created stable prices. It prevented inflation. And it built trust. Everyone knew what their money was worth. From 1879 to 1933, the United States was on a full gold standard. Your dollars were as good as gold, literally. And it worked. For decades, inflation stayed low. Prices were stable. A loaf of bread in 1900 cost about the same as it did in 1930. The system worked because it was backed by something real, something that required energy to create, gold. But then the government decided they wanted more control. April 5th, 1933, Executive Order 6102. President Franklin Roosevelt made it illegal for citizens to own gold. You were required to turn in your gold to the government. Turn it in by May 1st, less than a month, or face up to 10 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. That's equivalent to $250,000 today for owning gold. Why? The government wanted to print more money than they had gold for, so they confiscated everyone's gold, paying them $20.67 per ounce. Then, once they had it all, they revalued gold to $35 per ounce. That's a 41% devaluation of dollars overnight. They stole purchasing power from every American, and they got away with it. But the gold standard wasn't completely dead yet. After World War II, the US dollar became the world reserve currency under the Bretton Woods system. Other countries' currencies were pegged to the dollar. The dollar was pegged to gold at $35 an ounce. But here's the catch. Only foreign governments could redeem dollars for gold. US citizens were still banned from owning it. This worked for a while until the US started cheating They printed more dollars than they had gold to back them. They were cooking the books. And in the late 1960s, France figured it out. Charles de Gaulle started demanding gold for his dollars. Other countries followed. By August 1971, the US was running out of gold. So, on August 15, 1971, President Nixon went on TV and said, "We are closing the gold window temporarily. No more gold redemption, not for anyone." That temporary measure, it's been 55 years. This was the birth of a pure fiat currency, money backed by nothing, money created by government decree. Fiat means "let it be done" in Latin. Money because the government says so. So, what backs the dollar now? The full faith and credit of the US government. What does that actually mean? Force. You have to accept dollars. It's legal tender by law. You have to pay your taxes in dollars. No Bitcoin, no gold. And if you don't comply, the government has ways of making you. The US dollar is the world reserve currency because the US military is the most powerful force on the planet. That's what backs the fiat currency. Not energy, not scarcity, government force. You use dollars because you have no choice. This has never been tried in human history at this scale. So, how does fiat currency actually work? Simple. The government needs money, they create it. No literal printing anymore, though they do that too, but mostly digital creation. The Federal Reserve creates dollars out of thin air with a computer entry. Quantitative easing is the fancy term. It just means money printing. The 2008 financial crisis printed trillions. The pandemic printed trillions more. 40% of US dollars ever created were printed between 2020 and 2021. Think about that. Centuries of US dollars, and 40% were created in 2 years. And who pays for this? I do. You do. Your wages haven't kept up with inflation. The things you buy cost more every year, but your paycheck doesn't keep pace. You work harder for less purchasing power. Less time with your family, more time at work just to stay in the same place. You're running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. And for what? So the government can print more money? Here's something that really hit me. I was born in 1980. When I was still a baby in 1981, the US national debt hit $1 trillion for the first time. People were shocked. President Reagan called it an emergency. The media called it earth-shattering. $1 trillion seemed unfathomable. Today, the national debt is $38 trillion. That's 38 times higher than when I was a baby. A 3,700 increase in my lifetime. When I was in high school in the mid-90s, I remember learning about the national debt and hearing about it on the news. It seemed massive then. But here's what's even crazier. Before 1971, before Nixon took us off the gold standard, the debt grew slowly. From 1776 to 1971, that is 195 years, we accumulated less than $4 billion in total debt. From 1971 until today, just 54 years, we added $37.6 trillion. The gold standard kept government spending in check. Fiat currency removed all limits. Now they can spend whatever they want, print whatever they need. So here's the question. If they can just print money, why do we pay taxes? Federal income tax covers about 50% of the federal budget. The rest? Borrowing and printing money. They actually don't need our taxes to function. They can print whatever they need. So why do we pay? Officially, to remove excess money from the economy and control inflation, to show civic duty and national pride, and to maintain the illusion of a balanced budget. But the reality, they print trillions anyway. And where does our tax money actually go? Do you know? Does anyone? The Pentagon has failed multiple audits. They can't account for the trillions in spending. Black budgets, programs we're not allowed to know about. But they need our money. They need us to work harder and pay more. For what? Meanwhile, the debt grows, the money printer keeps running, and your purchasing power shrinks. And here's what most people don't know. When you take out a car loan or a mortgage, where does that money come from? You probably think the bank is lending the money they already have, right? Wrong. The bank creates that money when you sign the loan. It didn't exist before. They create it with a computer entry. You want to borrow $300,000 for a house? The bank doesn't go to a vault and count out $300,000. They don't take it from someone else's account. They type that $300,000 into your account. That's it. Money created. And now you owe them $300,000 plus interest over 30 years. You're paying interest on money that didn't exist until they loaned it to you. So our money gets created in two ways. The Federal Reserve prints it, and banks create it when they make loans. Every mortgage, every car, every business loan creates new money. Of it backed by what? Your promise to pay it back and the government's promise that the dollars will be worth something? That's it. That's the system. Now, there's so much more to this story. Countries that tried to get off the dollar, what happened to them? The petrodollar system and why oil is traded in dollars. How the US uses financial sanctions as weapons. And why certain countries are building alternative systems right now. It goes deep, really deep. If you want me to make any more videos diving into that, the geopolitics, the financial warfare, the countries that challenge the dollar, let me know in the comments. I'll go as deep as you want. But for now, let's get back to the core story. So most people say, why not just go back to gold? And I get it. Gold worked for a long time. But gold has problems. First, we can mine more. About 3,000 tons of gold are mined every year. The total above ground gold supply increases about 1.5% annually. And we don't know how much is still in the ground. And there's another kicker. Asteroid mining. There are asteroids in space that contain more gold than has ever been mined in human history. Once we can mine asteroids, and we will, gold scarcity disappears. Second, most people don't actually own gold. They own gold ETFs, gold certificates, paper gold. You own a promise of gold, not physical gold. Sound familiar? That's what dollars used to be before 1933. Physical gold? It's heavy, hard to store, hard to transport, hard to spend. Try buying groceries with a gold bar. Third, gold can be confiscated. We know this. It happened in 1933. Could it happen again? Absolutely. If you can't hide it, the government can take it. So what's the solution? Bitcoin. And I'm not saying Bitcoin is perfect, but hear me out. Bitcoin returns to the original principle of money. Proof of work equals energy. Remember wampum? Labor to create equals value. Remember gold? Energy to mine. Value. Bitcoin? Electricity plus computational power equals value. You can't fake the energy spent. You can't print more without doing the work. Miners around the world spend real electricity, real computational power to secure the network and create new Bitcoin. It's digital energy, proof of work. And here's the key. 21 million Bitcoin ever. Not 21 million per year, 21 million total. It can't be inflated by any government, and it can't be confiscated if you control your keys. It can't be mined on asteroids. Program scarcity written into the code. Now, people call Bitcoin trustless, and that's a confusing word because to me it sounds like you can't trust Bitcoin, but it means the opposite. It means you don't have to trust anyone. You can verify everything yourself. The old saying is trust but verify. With Bitcoin, you can verify. Anyone can look at the blockchain. Anyone can see every transaction ever made. Anyone can verify the total supply. You don't need to trust the Federal Reserve to tell you how much money they printed, the government to tell you the truth about inflation, a bank to tell you your balance, a politician to keep their promises. With Bitcoin, it's all out in the open. The code is public. The transactions are public. The supply is public. You don't have to trust. You can check. There's no chairman who can change the rules, no president who can print more, no central bank that can devalue it. The code is the law, and it can't be changed without consensus from the entire network. And practically speaking, you can send $1 billion of Bitcoin across the world in 10 minutes. You can divide it down to 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, called a Satoshi. Anyone can verify the supply on the blockchain. It can't be counterfeit. So we've come full circle. Wampum, energy creates value. Gold, energy creates value. Fiat, no energy required, just printing. Bitcoin, back to energy creates value. And here's what's coming. AI, automation, jobs disappearing. The future might have less work available, not more. But the same inflationary system, the same need to earn a living, Bitcoin as a store of value becomes even more critical when work itself is being automated away. But that's a whole nother conversation. We're living through the end game of fiat currency. Inflation is eating purchasing power. Wages aren't keeping up. Governments are printing money to pay debts they can never repay. Your savings lose value every year. The system is designed to extract wealth from you. Let's go back to what we talked about at the beginning. Value. What do we actually value? Time. Time with our families. Time not working extra hours just to keep up with inflation. Time not arguing about which politician is going to save us, because here's the truth, none of them will. This isn't about Democrat versus Republican. It isn't partisan. It's about a system, a fiat currency system that benefits those in power at the expense of everyone else. And it doesn't matter who's in office. The system stays the same. Republican president, Democratic president, doesn't matter. The money printer keeps running. The debt keeps growing. Your purchasing power keeps shrinking. Bitcoin offers something different, not just digital gold, a return to sound money, money that can't be manipulated by whoever is in office, money backed up by energy and math, not government promises, money that gives you back your time. Because when your money holds its value, you don't have to work as hard just to stay in place. You don't have to stress about inflation eating your savings. You don't have to trust that the next administration won't devalue everything you've worked for. These concepts, this understanding, this is what made me believe in Bitcoin. I didn't get into Bitcoin because I thought I'd get rich. I got into Bitcoin because I understood this. Our money is broken, the system is rigged, and no politician is going to fix it. Bitcoin offers something that operates outside of government control, something that can't be printed, can't be inflated, can't be manipulated. You don't have to understand all the technology. You don't need to know how the blockchain works in detail. You just need to understand what money is and what makes it valuable. Energy, scarcity, proof of work, transparency. Bitcoin has all four. If these concepts resonate with you, if you're tired of working harder for less, tired of trusting a system that's failed us, then Bitcoin might make sense to you. So when someone tells you Bitcoin has no value, what they're telling you is they don't understand what gives money value in the first place. When they tell you to trust the government with your money, ask yourself, what has the government done to earn that trust? Bitcoin isn't perfect, but this is the first time in 55 years that we have an alternative to fiat currency that governments can't control, an alternative that returns to the principles of sound money. That's not just important, it's revolutionary. And maybe, just maybe, it can give us some of our time back. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more honest Bitcoin education. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.